Hey guys, please ignore my face. I got a little too much sun today, and I wanted to hop on here to talk about a case that came to my attention, and it's really stuck with me. And there seems to be other cases coming forward that are similar that police are starting to look at and reopen. And the case that drew my attention is Charli Powell's. She's a 17-year-old from Australia who killed herself but was in a abusive relationship. Her abuser found her, and his story has changed often since then. The death was ruled a suicide by the coroner, but she did add that it was suicide with domestic violence into it, basically played into it. I forget what the actual terms she used were, but she actually had them in her report. I think it was like with domestic violence present or something like that, which I was happy to see, because the debate lately has been with this case along with others. Even if it is a suicide, what responsibility do the abusers have in it if they drove them to it? Should they be held responsible? I personally think that they should be, but only in certain cases. I think it's a slippery slope that you have to be careful, and that there has to be evidence that they can follow to say, without a doubt that yes, this is why this person did this. Not everyone's the same. Some people have other things in their lives that cause them to do it, or maybe they made attempts long before this person. And so while it's just one more thing added on, it may not be the direct cause. But cases like Charli's, as well as many others that are being brought up now, and I do want to do a video about some of the other ones as well and get their stories, heard. But I feel so bad for Charli's family, because she was so young, and it seemed like they didn't, that the police really didn't think much of it, that they didn't seem to question his story. He had several different versions of what happened over time. And a lot of them made no sense at all. It was like he said that he found her. They had a fight. She ran off. He found her there. And she was hanging by jean leggings from the ceiling. And that then when somebody asked him, well, how did you even know that she was there? He then changed it to, well, we had a fight. She ran off. She called me, and I was on the phone with her when it happened. She had told me where she was, and then I was on the phone with her when it happened. The line went dead, and after the line went dead, I got worried and went to where she told me, and lo and behold, there she was. And so, and then he did run to he knocked on a house nearby and said that he needed help. And this man also talked to the police and, described the boyfriend and the things he said. And I mean, he even said her family is going to kill me, because he knew, even if she did do it herself, even he knew, like, crap, like, I had a hand in this, like, I am a part of this, and her family is going to know that. I personally think Charli, I don't agree with the coroner. I think it should be reopened. I think, even though she added the domestic violence thing in it, she said that because he reportedly was not there, that he was in a different place when she determined the time of death to be, that is why she could not rule it a homicide. And whether that is, whether there are, like, legit facts to back that up, which I would assume so, I'm hoping she's not just going off of what he said, but I just think he should be held responsible. I think they need to look into it again, because he either did it, or if he did not, he, in this case, needs to be held responsible for driving her to it, because there are documented threats that he made to her, about her life, threatening her life, threatening her family. His family threatened her. And I think if she did do it herself, she felt there was no way out. And I think that is what happens often, in these cases, that if these girls did actually kill themselves, that is what happens. Like, they drive them to it, because Micah Stauffer actually is a perfect example. Or not Micah Stauffer. I'm so sorry. That's a YouTuber. That is a whole other case. I actually was thinking of doing a story on that, but it's not really criminal. They were family influencers. They were the ones that adopted a child and then decided that they didn't want him anymore and gave him away. And it evidently is legal. I still might do a story on that. But I can't remember Micah, the one I'm thinking of, what her last name is. It'll come to me. But her husband is named John Paul. Micah Miller, because he's John Paul Miller. And she's a perfect example of this, in that she killed herself. They say that there's no way around that she did it herself. However, there is so much evidence, along the way, of what they called coercive control. And I mean, he made sure to put her in a state of mind where she didn't know what to do. She didn't know, it's like she didn't know what was real and what wasn't real. He at one point made her legitimately believe she was crazy. And I think in the end, he made her feel like there was no way out. I think because I believe he had sent her a text that day, even, if I'm not mistaken. Something about, to where she felt like there was just there was no hope anymore. Like, she just needs to end it. And I think that he should be held responsible for that. He, I believe, was arrested not long ago on other charges. But I think she's a perfect example of what he does. Like, what those type of people do is they get into your head and make you believe things that you would normally not believe. It's like brainwashing, essentially. And you feel like there's no, like, that they're going to, and they even tell you they will not let you go. They will follow you to the ends of the earth if you leave them. And it just, I think some people just, you know, were like Micah, that was just like, I can't handle this anymore. And it's just really sad to me, and I hope that Charli's family continues to have the strength to keep fighting for it to be reopened, because I personally don't believe that she, in her case, committed suicide. I think there's too many inconsistencies, and there's too many weird things going on. I mean, just the fact that also the way he describes it, so I told you that she used jeggings to hang herself, and the way she would have had to do that is hoist herself up in between the bathroom wall, the stall, and the actual wall of the bathroom. Hoist herself up. She's a small framed 17-year-old. So she had the strength to hoist herself up, hold herself there, while she used both arms to somehow tie these jeggings around a fixture, then be able to tie it, hold herself there while she tied it around her neck, and then hang herself. Like, it just, and the fact that those jeggings, there's a debate whether that would have even held her from that height. And her boyfriend says that her legs weren't, like, when he saw her, her legs were not touching the ground, her legs were bent. And so that, to me, none of that makes sense at all. It's just not, I don't see how physically she could have accomplished that. I don't see his description of her, and what he said happened, to me, do not seem like they match up in terms of physical evidence. I don't know for sure, obviously, but that was my first impression of it. And yeah, I don't know. Like, the other thing that makes me mad in that case is that he was actually being charged. He had a charge on him for assaulting her when this happened. There was a warrant out for his arrest. So I don't know. And the cop said, yes, I did know that, but I didn't know what it was for. So clearly you didn't look into it. I mean, I just don't understand. The cop literally told him, even though she knew this, told him to go home, drink a cup of coffee, and come back, you know, when he has himself together. And he never came back to the police station voluntarily. 8 months later, they caught up with him after all this. So it drives me nuts. I don't know why they seemed to not take it very seriously. They didn't seem to have much suspicion about him, even though he was going to court to fight the charge. And what do you know? The charge was dropped after that because, well, there's no victim. She's dead. So funny how that works, right? And I think until that gets fixed, I think we are always going to have a serious problem when it comes to fear of the abuser, fear of the victim, that this would happen to them. Because you press charges on your abuser, they don't usually stay in jail forever. They get out even before they go to court for it. And then you run this risk of them offing you or driving to do it so that they won't get that charge, because they know that's the only way to go about it, because they know they did it. They know they're guilty of assaulting the person, and they don't want it on their record. So to them, like, I feel like until we fix that, and stop doing that, like, stop allowing it to happen, they should not drop the charge because the victim is dead. What in the hell? Like, what sense does that make? I mean, even if there's proof the person did not do it, did not kill them, it still happened. It should still be on their record. They should still be tried for it. And the victim doesn't need to be there. You know, like, it just because it's not a live person anymore doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that the person should get off scot-free because their victim died. Like, that is ridiculous. And I really feel like that is something we need to focus on changing in order to hold these people accountable, and in order for victims of domestic violence to feel like they can come forward and not be afraid of this type of thing. I know in past videos, like, I've mentioned to you guys that I had a really bad past relationship, and so I can really relate. I won't go into the details, but I can really relate to this. And I understand how somebody could get to the point that these girls got to. I'm so grateful that I got out of it. It had to be like divine intervention, because I suddenly got the strength out of nowhere to have the courage to end it and leave. And I thank God every day for that, because I never thought, like, my mindset was, I will never get out of this. Like, I felt so trapped. I felt like that was it for me. Like, this was going to be my life. And it's not rational, because even besides the physical fear of, like, someone retaliated, like, I literally felt like I had nowhere to turn when I had people in my life that were great support system. But it's like they get you to this point where it's like you just think that you're doomed, that you just need to stay in this, because the other thing is they won't leave you alone. That is another thing that I feel like drives these girls to do this. They will not leave you alone. Like, they make you feel like they will haunt you, forever. And they try to. And it's so sad, but I can definitely understand where they're coming from. And I know what kind of damage can be done, mentally and emotionally. Physically is horrible, but the emotional and mental abuse and games that they play are what, in my experience, is the worst and stays with you. Even to this day, that some of those things stick with me. Like, I have gone to therapy for years, much better than I was. But there are still some things that I don't think I will be able to get out of my thought process. Like, I'm hoping that I can, but it's just, that's what such a stronghold they have. Like, after my relationship, after I got out of it, I was single for years. Like, years and years. And thankfully, I found my husband now, but it was after like 8-9 years of being completely single, because I didn't trust anyone. I was terrified of making the same mistake and getting involved with someone like that again. So I had to do a lot of like work on myself. I didn't want to leave like my apartment for ever. Like that was my safe space. So I had to do a lot of work to get to where, like, to the point that I was able to date. And, you know, thank God I eventually met my husband, and he's the complete opposite of my ex. Thank God. And, you know, he made me feel safe. He makes me feel safe. And, supports me through, you know, what I've been through, and, you know, helps me and is understanding. And it's just like, I don't know. I really hope that all of these cases get looked at again, because they deserve to be. Because whether or not, like I said, they did it themselves, if there is documented proof of these men terrorizing them, driving them to the point where they don't think they have a choice, I feel that they should be held responsible in some way. Do I think that they should be charged with like first-degree murder? No, not necessarily. I think in most cases I don't think in every case the abuser is even thinking, I'm going to make her kill her. Like, I don't think that is the case in a lot of them. I think they just do what they do best and do their thing. And they don't think about the fact that all of this could drive them to do the worst. I think a lot of them are thinking, I will make her feel so badly that she will want to stay with me, or she won't ever be with anybody else ever again. That is what I think. I think there's some that probably do purposely want, you know, they want them off this earth and they don't want to do it themselves. So, but I think the majority of it is they don't think about it. They just want to abuse. They want to do what they do. They want to control. They want to be abusive. They want to say whatever it is that they need to say in order to get control again over that person and to make them do what they want. And it's so sick and twisted and toxic. And people need to be held accountable. You know, even if it wasn't their intent, they are what drove them to do it. And if we don't start holding people responsible for that, I feel like we're not going to get anywhere in terms of fighting domestic violence. So anyway, that was Charli's story. And like I said, I hope that her family keeps fighting for it to be reopened and looked at, and as well as these other cases. And I do want to do videos on some of these other cases as well, and because they all deserve it. They deserve to be heard. And let me know what you guys think. I'm curious. Comment down below on if you think that these people should be held responsible for driving somebody to do this. I know everyone has different experiences in life. I know everyone, not everyone is going to see things the same way I do, and that's okay. I still want to know what your opinion is, whether you have been through it yourself or whether you have not, or whether you know someone who's been through it or whether you don't, and you just are going off of what you know and what you think. As long as everything's done like in a respectful way to everybody, I am perfectly fine like hearing everyone's opinions no matter how much they differ. But because it's a touchy topic. It's it's a slippery slope. Like, you have to be careful. I understand that, and so I know some people may completely disagree with holding people responsible for that, and I want to know that. I really do. I really am interested in what everyone's varying opinions are and why they feel the way that they do. But anyway, I gotta run, guys. I will talk to you guys later. And yeah, comment down below. Let me know. Bye.